All right, what's going on, everyone? We are here to talk Bears postgame for the third week in a row. It is lost, and I do not have my victory hat again. It sucks. This is just a miserable time right now for the Chicago Bears, but we are here. We're going to talk about it as we always do. I'm joined by our MVP producer, Ryan Burden, at Ryan Burden, spelled like Ryan Sandberg. Don't get it wrong. And we have joining us now, he is actually, why don't you, Jacob Infante, he's a man of many talents. Jacob, why don't you plug in the beginning of the show? Where can everybody find you? And, what do you have going on for yourself right now?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Jacob Infante. I'm a writer over at Windy City Gridiron. I'm the lead NFL draft analyst there. I also do work with DraftWire, NFL draft stuff over there. So you guys can check me out at Jacob Infante 24 on Twitter. So yeah, that's pretty much where you guys can find me at.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. So I guess right off the bat, before we really dive into this game, Jacob, I'm going to start right with you, dude. High-level thoughts of this Bears team and one of the worst offensive performances I think we've seen, honestly, in a long time. So just high-level thoughts of this game and I don't even like.
What do you
thought about the game? Yeah, be completely honest.
I think I've blocked out the Bears. I don't remember shit about that game. I'm not even lying. I don't remember a damn thing about that game besides we lost. And for the most part, the offense looked ugly. The defense looked great. That's about where I am. I don't know. I put it all behind me. I feel like I'm starting to purge at the end of games because we're just losing so much and by
it's almost like we accept. It's almost like I accepted it. Like I'm not even mad right now. Like I accept that this team is so terrible right now. That's kind of where I'm at. Jacob, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah. Heading into, that 5-1 start, I kind of realized, okay, this team isn't as good as their record shows, but, they got off to a good enough start. Maybe they can, make it to the playoffs and, etch out a win in the wild card round or whatever. But at this point, I'm not sure because what we saw today was, God, one of the worst offensive performances I've seen from this team in a while. And
that says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Considering how many bad performances this offense has put together. Not just under Matt Nagy, but with John Fox as well. And then, in years past, it just looked lifeless. I mean, the score says 24-17, but it might as well have been 24-0 with how bad this offense was. And the stat line says that Nick Foles had a good game. The eye test, and I'm sure once the tape gets released, that's going to show he was not good. The running game was not good. The offensive line was not good. It was terrible on essentially all facets of the offensive play. And it's tough to be optimistic because
it's frustrating because the defense played so well too. So well.
Exactly. Like they shut Derrick Henry down to what? Barely over 3 yards per carry. They did a way better job than I was expecting.
Hey, how about – yeah, we'll talk. I'll get into it in a minute, but continue.
Yeah, and overall, Ryan Tannehill completed less than half of his passes. So the defense was good. I think it still could have been a little better, but overall it was a good defensive performance. That just shows if you don't have even a somewhat competent offense, this team can't get anywhere. And I don't know if they can make it to the postseason unless they make major adjustments in their coaching philosophy or they just straight up force Nagy to give over the play calling duties to someone else.
Yeah, and
somebody has to at this point. Hey, it's getting so ugly. Like it's like I don't know, man. I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I think Nagy is just so stuck in the weeds, man. He's just like, oh, they're not going to think about this. Now this worked. Now we could run the complete opposite thing that has been working because they're going to be expecting what did work. But then that doesn't work. And so he's like, okay, well, maybe I should go back to what.
Well, it's all this positive excuses, flowers and sunshine every week. And eventually Matt Nagy has to be like, we suck. And this starts with me and we need to make a change. And he still hasn't said that. However,
he hasn't taken ownership of
before we get into that, I want to start positives. This defense played out of its mind. Again, a couple dropped interceptions, but this defense played fantastic. Really only gave up about 17 points. This team had an absolute chance to win. And ultimately, defense played lights out, and that's exactly what we wanted them to do. And they were really close in possession with, Titans. If you look at the stats, this team should have been closer than what it was. But hey, Big Boy McCullers played and he played fantastically.
We got to make the plays,
Ryan was talking about
That's
it.
why we were so good in 2018.
I know, but you were talking about him before the podcast, right? Big man McCullers, and he came in there. He looked so good. So, Jacob, I want to go to you. Thoughts on this defense? And without Eddie Goldman, we look fantastic up front. Roquan Smith played great. Jalen Johnson played great. Obviously, outside a couple A.J. Brown plays. But, ultimately, what were your thoughts on this defense? And it sucks because I feel like we're wasting another defensive, another really studly defense. But, how did you think of this game? Because that is a top 5 offense, and the Bears just shut him down.
Yeah, so I think with this Bears defense, like you guys were saying, McCullers did really well. I think that was his first game with the Bears, and I think that was a massive, no pun intended, addition to that defensive line. Because in the past, when the Bears have been running like their base 3-4, they've had Bilal Nichols mostly at that nose tackle spot. And I like Bilal Nichols. He's a solid enough player. He can't be that type of gap eating guy. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough to do that. And I think that's part of the reason why this Bears run defense hasn't been all that good. I think you put McCullers in there. He's 6'7", like 350 pounds. He doesn't have to be the best pass rusher in the world. He just eats up gaps in the run game. And I think that putting him in there definitely showed. And I think that was a very crucial addition. And like you mentioned, Austin, Roquan Smith played out of his mind. He's been playing on a fantastic level pretty much all year.
Danny T's back too.
Yeah, I think, Danny Trevathan.
Yeah, Danny's been playing great.
He looked a lot better than he has early on in the year. Like, I've given him crap throughout this year, but he's putting it together these past couple of weeks. So I think that Jalen Johnson looked good. I think those guys in particular that I mentioned specifically, they all played really well. And again, it wasn't perfect on defense, but more often than not, they were able to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a really great performance all around. 17 points, one of the best offenses. Ryan Tannehill had like 10 or under 10 receptions or completions. And, really A.J. Brown was the only one that really dug them apart, except Jonnu Smith at the end of the game. Derrick Henry was a non-factor in this game, which you don't hear that often. So really, really good play from the defense. And obviously, I think the Bears needed a defensive touchdown if they wanted to win this game. However, we're going to talk about the missed opportunities on this, or now going into it now. The Bears had, a time when even on the false start, when they were on the 35, Matt Nagy didn't kick the field goal to go down 14. I think there was 0 at that point. You wanted to go for it, which I understand, but also, it was 0. It's 10-0 at that point. So if you kick a field goal, you're down by 1 score. And then you also talk about Dave Montgomery fumble, the Anthony Miller fumble. These are both opportunities to put points on the board, and it's gone. I mean, both now back-to-back weeks, we have opportunities to win this game, and these are 2 very winnable games. I'm not gonna lie, the Bears should be a lot better than what their record. Well, granted, if they had an offense, I think they'd be a lot better and better coached. But Matt Nagy continues to throw plays at the wall and see if it sticks. And then also he's, it's just the offense was terrible. And we can talk about this now. Jacob, was it more Nick Foles today? Was it more the offensive line, which was atrocious, or was it more Matt Nagy? Like how do you see this? Because, like you said, Nick Foles passed the stat test, but the eye test, he didn't look great. He played scared today. He didn't trust his O-line. So what do you see from this? And ultimately, where does most of the blame go to today?
I think that's really tough because I think you can add a decent amount of blame on all 3 of them. I think that with the offensive line wasn't great at all. I mean, that's kind of what you would have expected for how depleted they were from a personnel standpoint. Foles didn't look good. I think, especially considering all of the critiques that Mitchell Trubisky's had. It's like, he throws off his back foot, he forces reads, he makes bad decisions. Foles has been doing a lot of that over these past few weeks, and I think that that's an issue when you bring in a polished veteran, supposedly, and he's making the exact same mistakes as your guy that you've been showing a lot of disappointment in. I think that's cause for a recipe for disaster. But I think the most blame has to go to Matt Nagy. And I know that could ruffle a few feathers. Some people might not agree with that. But I think that at this point, regardless of the personnel, the fact that Matt Nagy, who's supposed to be this offensive-minded coach, is putting together an offense that is as poor as it is, like at some point the blame's got to come on him. And with his play calling late in the game, a lack of urgency with controlling the clock, generally designing plays that are thrown short of the sticks on third down, I'll never understand that.
Yeah, that's a good point, dude. It's infuriating. Like we need to pass the ball. We need to get a quick score. So Matt Nagy runs the ball on 2nd and long, and then on 3rd down, Nick Foles throws a check down 3 yards across.
How atrocious we're in week 9, and these 4th and 1 plays are horrible.
Bad.
They're horrible. It's like they don't even practice them.
It's like Matt Nagy won't. I mean, we talked about it. He's just getting cute. He will not use the personnel. He won't use the packages that the team is built to use. It's like he wants to run KC's offense, but we're not Kansas City. We don't have Mahomes. We don't have Travis Kelce. We don't have their running back duo. Like, it just isn't like that. And like, there's not really a whole lot to say. Like, what do you do at this point? Because Nagy's not going to give up play calling, which if we look at Andy Reid has done that multiple times when shit isn't working. You know, so maybe he gets a call from Andy Reid this week that's like, hey, man, put your ego aside and win some football games. Because, I mean, obviously you can't put everything on Matt Nagy. A lot of it goes back to Ryan Pace as well for having the personnel here in the first place.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes it just feels like the Bears are just low energy.
It's almost like
players don't believe it. Like
it's like 2018. It's like they started great, and then 19 got a little worse, and now we're just terrible. We are the most penalized team in the NFL. That is unbelievable. Coaching wise, a 3rd-year coach who's supposed to be this guru, who's supposed to be this fantastic head coach, and you're the most penalized team in the NFL. That blows my mind.
I think the worst part about this offense right now, to be completely honest with you guys right now, is like, yes, some of the play design is shoddy, some of the play calling is shoddy, but it is the time management, man. It's like we had to call a timeout after we got a first down because obviously no one expected to get a first down. And to me, that's like, okay, so the head coach doesn't believe in the team. The offense doesn't believe in the team. What do you do? And it's like, you know, we saw that we had 2 false start penalties in a row. Like, how does that even happen? You know,
and did you see Darnell Mooney? Rookie Darnell Mooney, good friend of the pod. Even he was just pissed. Like, he couldn't even believe that that this team was false starting as much as they could. And
do they watch film? What do they do in practice? Because they always.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Like, they're like, I love how we're looking in practice this week.
I don't know what they do in practice. Well.
Yeah. Like, do they play patty cake and like get ice cream sundaes? Is that what practice is for Matt Nagy? Because we heard the same shit last year and it never got fixed. And we're looking to have a worse year this year. Like, when the season is over and I go back and revise my 20 years of Bears offense chart, I really have a feeling that this year is going to be lower than last year.
Yeah, and it sucks because I when we were 5-1, I had that big bet with the former CEO of the Draft Network, and now it's looking bad. The Bears are going to finish 8-8 or worse, and now it's looking terrible. They got to finish 9-7. I don't even know if they're going to get there at this point because we got the fucking Vikings next, the Packers, and the Vikings are surging. So I don't know.
Against the run right now, though. So that's
they are. So yeah, make Kirk Cousins play. But like again, they made Ryan Tannehill play quarterback, and it worked. The offense was just terrible. This is one of the worst defenses in the league, and we made them look good. That just tells you how bad this offense is. It's terrible. It is so bad. Jacob, any bright spots on this offense? I mean, obviously you have David Montgomery doing what he can to make positive plays. Allen Robinson continues to impress. Darnell Mooney every week makes great plays. That catch he had at the end of the game was phenomenal, even though he's out of bounds. So ultimately, you know, any positives from this offense moving, I guess, even trying to move forward?
Yeah, I think that overall the weapons, especially the wide receiver position, did play well. I think Allen Robinson, with the workload that he was given, he did do well. He was able to make catches in tight windows, and I think that's a big trait of a true wide receiver. One is that ability to make those contested catches. So he looked really good in the workload that he was given. Darnell Mooney looked good. I want to bring up that catch near the end of the game that Darnell Mooney had. It didn't count, but the one in the end zone that he had where he was able to rise up over the other defender and secure that. Like
Phenomenal.
I know that didn't, count as an actual catch, but the fact that he came down with it alone is impressive. But yeah, and then outside of that, I think that, Jimmy Graham didn't look phenomenal because a lot of his plays came down to just like short little flat routes that had him get out in space. And when it's an old tight end, you don't have a whole lot of juice in the open field. But he did what he was, expected to do. Honestly, I think Robinson and Mooney were the two big offensive MVPs of this game. I think I would like to see a little bit more of Riley Ridley. That might just be me because I liked him coming out of the draft.
His brother's phenomenal, so why don't I even try him at this point? Like, it makes no sense.
Exactly. They got rid of Ted Ginn Jr. They've got Javon Wims on suspension for another game. I think now's the time you can try and test things out a little bit more with him and see if he's a guy you can maybe not a starter at this point. Maybe you don't rely on him to be that, but just a solid enough rotational guy that maybe eventually he'll take Ginn's role on offense and then potentially eat up Javon Wims's snaps over time if he plays well. But yeah, I'd like to see more of him. We didn't see any of Cole Kmet today, which I know he was battling with an injury earlier on, so that makes a little bit of sense. But I'm still a little bit confused as to why the Bears aren't using him or even giving him a chance. Like, I'll admit I wasn't the biggest fan of that pick, but I think if you're going to use a second-round pick on a tight end, at least try and get him involved and see what you have in him. And I don't think Matt Nagy's done that.
I 100% agree with you. I think that was well said. And it goes to the point where Matt Nagy doesn't know how to get his playmakers in space. He doesn't know how to play. His scheme is great, but he doesn't know how to play. He doesn't know how to call plays that get his playmakers the ball. Darnell Mooney in space. Cordell Patterson, he does it every once in a while. But A-Rob, it's very frustrating. You actually have a lot of talent on this offense, and you just don't utilize it. The first series of the game, great scripted series. You drive down the field, obviously score no points, but you get a couple first downs, and you're moving the ball somewhat, moving away from the offensive line. You're kind of shielding how the offense, how bad the offensive line is, and you make plays. And after that, Nagy never went back to that. So I don't know what he is thinking. I don't know what he's doing, and maybe it's time to kind of give up play calling here for Matt Nagy, even though it won't happen. But ultimately, it's just very frustrating. Now, before we get into Staley's picks and recap these later games, Jacob, I do want to go to you real quick and talk to you about draft picks. You've been all over guys like Zach Wilson and company. So the Bears are in a very weird spot right now in terms of being 5-4. But they're more than likely not going to make the playoffs now, and they're going to end up with like a middle of the pack pick. So if the Bears are going quarterback, which they might go offensive line, but if they're going quarterback, who could they potentially target in the offseason?
Yeah, so in the draft, I feel like with where the Bears are at right now, it's going to be extremely unlikely that they're able to trade up for Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I believe they're going second overall. I believe Lawrence is going first, Fields is going second. Whether the team who picks second needs a quarterback or not, somehow if there's a trade up, Fields is going second. So that's just my opinion on that. So you're looking at Zach Wilson or you're looking at Trey Lance. And as far as like pure draft picks goes, I personally prefer Zach Wilson.
I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
He could say some good prayers before the game too. Be like, please, Lord, let us score more than 3 points on offense. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Jeez. Yeah. I think in the draft, if you're assuming they do pick a quarterback in the draft, which there is a possibility that they don't, I can get into that in a little bit here. But as far as the draft goes, I think the Bears should move up in the draft in the first round, simply because, like you said, where they're at right now, the Bears are in that kind of middle ground purgatory. They don't pick high enough to be able to secure one of those top quarterbacks, but they're not good enough to make it into the playoffs. So I think if you're going to take a quarterback in the first round, you're going to have to trade up for him, whether you like it or not. So I'd go Zach Wilson personally because I love his quick release. He's got a strong arm. He's athletic. He's accurate. He's a good decision maker. I think he's got a lot of the traits needed to succeed at the next level. And plus the fact that he showed up against Boise State, which was a big game I was looking at this weekend to see how he did against better competition. And he excelled.
Murdered him.
Yeah. He did very well. So
do
I think
you see him being there? Like I don't know, if the Bears can trade up to 12, 11. Can you see Zach Wilson being there at that point?
It could be tough. I could see Zach Wilson realistically. I think he'll go in the top 10 at this rate. Okay. I think it depends on how the rest of the season goes, but I think he's a legit top 10 pick. So in my personal opinion, I could see him going around that 7 to 10 range. He could maybe go higher. I don't think he does, but I think the Bears would have to trade up into that range in order to get him. With Trey Lance, you can maybe move up a little bit into the low teens. But yeah, I think with Zach Wilson, he's the type of guy you'd probably have to trade up into the top 10 to get.
And then realistically, do you see the Bears going quarterback or offensive line in the first round?
You see, that's tough. I think there's a lot in the offseason that could take place as far as moving cap around. Like if Dak Prescott enters the open market, which I don't know if he will. And even if he does, I don't know if the Bears can afford him. But if he does, I think the Bears would be dumb to not pursue it. Simply because I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL today. And obviously he got hurt and all, so you can get him at a discount. If you can somehow manage the cap and pull that off, this is a Super Bowl contender.
Sure.
And I truly believe that. However, I think the more realistic option is the Bears take a quarterback in the first round. They trade up to get him, whether it's Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. They keep that second round pick, draft an offensive lineman, and then probably in the third round, you'd have to end up giving it away. So I'll go quarterback in the first round.
I'm praying for Zach Wilson, man. I think I'd get a jersey almost immediately if it's Zach Wilson. I'd be very pumped about that. All right, Ryan. Before we get into Staley's picks, I almost said Staley Corner. Staley's picks. We're going to do the quick Manscaped ad read here. As you guys know, the show is brought to you by Manscaped. So brace yourselves, winter's coming. Man, do I miss Game of Thrones. What the writers of Game of Thrones didn't want to tell you is that Bran was actually in a wheelchair because he didn't trim his balls with Manscaped. Poor guy thought it was okay to trim his balls with a traditional razor or hair trimmer. Bad move, Bran. Ultimately, guys, Manscaped has a lot of awesome things, and holidays are right around the corner, and you can save a lot of money with our code here. But everything from the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, it's waterproof. You can use it in the shower. It's got a light, and it's super easy to use. The Weed Whacker ear and nose trimmer, which skin safe technology as well. Performance package includes the crop preserver, the crop reviver, and the ball toner. Keep your boys fresh. And then, of course, you have the crop mop wipes. You have the foot duster for smelly feet. You have the Manscaped cologne. Everything, the shed travel bag. I mean, you literally have everything at Manscaped.
They've got it all.
Go to manscaped.com, check it out. Treat yourself, or buy your husband, your uncle, your brother, your grandpa, any of those people, buy a Manscaped stuff. And you can go to manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping using code BEARSBACK. Again, that code is a little irrelevant in terms of the Bears actually being back now, but you can go to save money with it. 20% off free shipping using code BEARSBACK. Check it all out. Save some money on your holiday shopping. Treat yourself. Do whatever. But again, BEARSBACK, manscaped.com, 20% off free shipping. All right, Ryan, how's Staley doing before we close the show out?
Well, first off, man, that code has not aged well.
It did in the beginning of the season. Now it has not.
It did. We were very excited moving forward early in the season, but it has not aged well. Okay, so of the games that have been played so far, there have been 12 of them, 2 remaining. Staley is just for you, Jacob. Staley is, I made a neural network. I take stat averages every week, put them together based on the games, and put it through Staley, and it tells us who's going to win. So there were 6 surefire selections this week, which are our most confident picks. They were 3-2 so far, with 1 still left to go tonight.
The Bucks.
Staley has got the Bucks over the Saints, 5 out of 5.
Okay.
But overall for the week, Staley's 8-4, so not awful.
Okay,
not awful.
And Bucks, and then
good
Monday night. Who does they have?
Monday night has the Patriots. Duh.
Okay, I would love a double-digit win.
Patriots are the last surefire selection.
That's it. Yeah,
not the Bucks. The Bucks were.
But So there's a chance that Staley has the a 10-win week, which would be
great. Can I point out something too? I know that Staley won on this pick. Let me pull up my text here. Staley won on the Steelers pick. He only picked the Steelers over the Cowboys with 3 out of 5 models, which is like baseline confidence. And they barely won. So, and he's called the Dolphins win for 2 weeks in a row now. I don't know. Staley sees something in the Dolphins, man. I think next week might be time to ride with the Dolphins money line on a big parlay.
For real. Staley's riding. Dolphins
but
are
not too bad. I mean,
8-4 is great.
I'll do a comparison later in the week with the team efficiency charts that I made. I'd be interested to see how those actually panned out with Staley's picks, and then with like actual wins and losses this week. But yeah, not too bad of a week for Staley. I'm proud of my son. He's coming back. He had a rough few weeks, but he's coming back.
Hopefully we can get Staley. Hopefully we get Staley in double-digit wins. That'd be fantastic.
I'd like to get him top 10 on Tally site.
Yes,
I really would.
that's what we're hoping for. Undefeated week coming soon. All right, Jacob. Before we let you go, man, give me your ultimate confidence in this team making the playoffs and the odds that you give them to get there, and then if not, where you see them ending up maybe for a draft pick in 2021 or 2021. Putting you on the spot.
All right, that's tough. At this rate, I think that the Bears kind of do find themselves in a bit of a predicament here because obviously they're on 3 straight losses. I think that's going to suck a lot of momentum out of them, more than it already has. But this was the hard stretch of their season, in my opinion. So, losing to the Saints and Titans, it's not the end of the world, like that's obviously there's a lot going wrong with them more on offense, but in play calling, a little bit on defense too. But otherwise, I think with the NFC West, that's what you got to look out for when you're analyzing this playoff race, because I feel like whoever doesn't win the NFC South between the Buccaneers and Saints, they'll make it. And I feel like at least one of either the Rams or Cardinals are a lock to make it. I don't know exactly which one of them. So that leaves one playoff spot. And in my opinion, that's realistically down to the Bears and either the Rams or Cardinals, probably the Cardinals at this point. So I'd give the Bears about I'm trying to think of a good number here. I go somewhere between 35 and 40% odds to make the playoffs right now.
Decent.
So it's, respectable odds. It's better than a lot of other NFC teams right now, but yeah, that's where I'd give them right now. Realistically, I think they'll end up picking around – I think they'll pick 16th. That's what I'm guessing. So I think the cutoff now with the new expansion of the extra team in each conference in the playoffs, I think 18 is the best non-playoff team. So I'll go 16 here. I'll say the Bears finish around 8-8, 9-7.
Okay. Respectable, very respectable. And there's obviously still that outside chance that they still make the playoffs, but at this point – the offense needs a miracle for that to even happen. But all right, guys, that is our post-game show. As always, we're coming out on Wednesday with our next weekly audio show. We are potentially going to have a Bears player who scored his first touchdown today on the show. We're going to talk to him potentially. Hopefully we can work that out. And working on a couple other guests for that show as well. So stay tuned for that. That's coming out Wednesday. All 22 show to review this. Blake is going to be on that, and he's going to be excited to look at his boy Arlington Ham
our YouTube channels.
YouTube channel. That's going to be on YouTube. And then Sunday, as always, we're going to be back with before the Vikings game, our pregame show at 10 a.m. Central. Our new Bears Cave YouTube series where we're highlighting Bears Cave will be back at 11:15. That'll be out on our YouTube channel, Lakeshore Live Podcast on YouTube. And then, of course, our postgame show will be after the game. So stay tuned for all that. We're ramping up here at the Lakeshore Live. The Bears are kind of trash right now, but the Lakeshore Live is really ramping up in terms of content that we're delivering you guys. So stay tuned for that. As always, we'll be back on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great week. Go Bears, bear down, and we'll catch you Wednesday.
Bears.